Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This in detail.
It is 19
now. And he just turned 19, actually, and was plying his trade as a border rider. And apparently, he committed a traffic offense, which in normal operations would have been a case whereby had he needed to pay a fine, he needed to present himself in court, whatever the case may be. That's how it would have happened normally. But you know what? He's dead. And that is not normal. Families are demanding answers after the police officers beat kin to death. Post-mortem finds Eric Otieno suffered fatal internal injuries consistent with blunt force trauma to the abdomen. And I want to stop on that note because the reason why you do a post-mortem is that the body after death still tells a story.
Yeah.
And that it will tell you what happened. And when you look at something like blunt force trauma, it is not by speaking to someone that blunt force trauma occurs. It is by taking an object to or taking your fists or feet to in a forceful manner that causes this trauma, which then in turn causes injury. Follow me so far?
Yep.
So it's not that they spoke to him and then he got these injuries. It's not like they put him in a cell and then there was some kind of osmosis of injury that happened. That a postmortem tells a story of what the body is speaking, and it will tell you that this is the kind of injury that caused this damage in the body that led to death.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, death reignites scrutiny of alleged police brutality. Kenyans are once again mourning the death of another young man, Eric Otieno, beaten by police and left for dead. Otieno, a 19-year-old border rider, was allegedly arrested by police and booked on Saturday at the Muthaiga police station. Otieno, a resident of nearby Mathare area, was arrested on Saturday in the afternoon on Thika Road by officers from Muthaiga station where he was detained. That much we know.
Yeah.
The family told the Standard they were called to pick him up on Sunday when he was already too frail. He, however, died on Monday morning at the Mama Margaret Uhuru Hospital where he was rushed for treatment. They claimed that at the station, Otieno was subjected to beating that left him unable to stand, complaining of severe pain on his abdomen. His death reignites the safety of suspects in police custody after a post-mortem revealed linked his death to beatings. A post-mortem that was conducted at the Mama Margaret Uhuru Hospital yesterday by government pathologist Bernard Medea showed that Otieno died of a massive internal hemorrhage in the abdomen due to injury to organs. This was due to trauma to the abdomen. The spleen was ruptured and also part of the bowel was also injured, orchestrating internal bleeding. Now, once upon a time, I wanted to be a doctor. You know, when you hit your arm, for example, and then you get a mark on it, what has happened is that your body has realized that there's an injurious, there's a threat. And so blood rushes to that area to try and protect the area. Now, can you imagine what would have happened to his abdomen whereby there was 2 liters of blood there? Because now the blood, which is half of the amount of blood that is circulating through your system anyway, has rushed to the abdomen to try and protect the organs that are there, because that's what it does.
The organs that have been injured.
So how bad were those injuries for that amount of blood to have pooled in that area? Okay, park that for a moment. About 2 liters of blood were found to have leaked into his abdomen. The family says Otieno was arrested from the border stage around KCA University, where he operates from. Around that area, police officers usually wait for riders making wrong turns. This is where he was arrested, according to his brother, Emmanuel Otieno. At the same spot, it is alleged that officers usually collect bribes from riders found making wrong turns, and it is suspected that the deceased did not oblige. The brother added he was escorted to the station.
He was?
Escorted.
He was walking.
To the station. He was walking. He was alive. That evening, he called begging us to raise 10,000 shillings, saying he was in pain after being assaulted in the station. Remember who also made a phone call when he was arrested and he was not quite sure what was going to happen to him? Albert Ojwang. His younger brother, Arnold Otieno, said when he visited him at the station late in the evening, officers at first were hesitant to allow him to see his brother. That time, he was unable to stand. He crawled to the wall where we spoke briefly. He was saying the officers had assaulted him using clubs and he was in severe pain. Arnold said, while I was still at the station, I heard one of the female officers asking a colleague to secure a car to take my brother to hospital, claiming he was unwell. We suspect they wanted to rush him to hospital as part of a cover-up. On Sunday evening, they went back to the station to pay the 10,000 shillings cash bail and secure his release, hoping to rush him for treatment. His sister, Immaculate Atieno, who by the time this was happening yesterday, the poor thing had lost her voice.
Yeah.
It was around 11 p.m. when we left the station for hospital, where Otieno was pronounced dead on arrival. The family says no one has told them why Otieno was arrested or who assaulted him. We have not been told what happened or why he was arrested. We are appealing to the National Police Service and even Interior Cabinet Secretary to intervene and form an inquiry into the matter. However, officers at Muthaiga claim Otieno was booked for preparation to commit a felony. He was booked for preparation. Ama, it's me who can't read.
Yes. So, question.
Can I read? Preparation. Preparation. Preparation.
That
his
statement
preparation
indicates that Otieno was under investigation for them to say that he was preparing to commit a felony.
Can you arrest somebody that is under investigation?
What?
He is a border rider. So they say that he was going to commit a felony.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yes, you can. All right. Okay.
Did he commit a felony?
Exactly.
So you arrested
did you
him.
charge him?
You arrested him for what exactly?
All right.
What intelligence did you have against him? And why didn't you present him in court?
Maybe the lawyers can tell us if you can arrest someone and detain in the manner in which this happened because he was preparing to commit a felony. Did you have evidence? Did you have a charge? Did you have something? Was he under investigation? What had you done prior to this to then signal perhaps this was going to be the case? We're not investigators, but we can figure this out in 3 minutes. Okay. I'm going to continue. So if you're upset, just hold on. On Monday, his family, friends, and fellow border riders protested outside the station seeking answers, but they were not addressed. Nobody bothered. Nobody bothered. The family lawyer, Alvin Atalo, said it is suspected that Otieno was arrested by 5 police officers and they will be seeking to review the CCTV footage outside the station to observe how Otieno arrived and how he was released. Do you understand?
Yes.
Very important. Wajiro, who's an activist and co-founder of the Mathare Social Justice Center, said, we thought it would end after Albert Ojwang or Julian Jockey. We can't live like this, guys. Something's got to give. Thursday ni Mandamano, she said. Vocal Africa said on X, and of course we see there that Khalid is in that picture, and he said, the family of Eric Otieno is mourning the untimely loss of their son. This horrific incident bears the painful hallmark of systemic police brutality and mirrors past tragedies like that of Albert Ojwang. The Vocal Africa family stands firmly with the family in demanding immediate accountability and a thorough, transparent investigation. And this was Hussein Khalid also condemning the incident and called for accountability. Okay, that's what we know so far. But the thing that we do know is that this young man is dead. And that the injuries that... it's called a post-mortem. Post means after, mortem, death. So that you do it after death and you find out what is the thing that actually caused his death. And you can see this. And that's why I think this lawyer, actually, anybody would apply this. How did he walk in?
Yep.
How did he come to the station? If he came to the station in any way different from how he left, then the people inside the station with him are going to have to explain to you and take responsibility for what happened to him him to have him in a state different from how he arrived.
I think also there is the fact that, I don't even know how officers think at times, because this man was arrested in a border stage. There are definitely witnesses where this man operates with this, and they will definitely tell how this man was arrested, whether he was walking while they were headed there. But that notwithstanding, this boy died of forced trauma using a blunt object. It is not anything else. It is not sickness. It is forced trauma. He bled internally, 2 liters of blood. One has to explain how that happened. Heads must roll. Kipchumba Murkomen and your boys. In IG Kanja, President William Ruto, this can't be allowed to happen in this country. No. Not now, not ever in this country. We talk about Albert Ojwang, we talk about Brian, until when? We're here saying how we need to trust that our officers will do the right thing. Convince me today. I've given you a story of, it was which year? I think it was around 2017 there. I was picked up by police officers because allegedly, according to them, I was loitering. I didn't know where I was going.
Okay.
They slapped me for no reason. Yet I am in handcuffs behind a police Land Cruiser. What else would I do? Where else would I go? Why was that police officer slapping me? We get to the station. They ask me to pay for bail. I pay. The OCS asks, unafanya nini hapa? I explain myself, and the gentleman tells me, go home. Go home. The good officers that are doing amazing jobs, their work is becoming very difficult every new day because of rogue police officers who've been allowed to do their nonsense, and they're being protected by the law, being protected by the authorities there be. Because how do you explain to me that police officers have not learned the reason why Kenyans went to the streets when Albert Ojwang died? How do you explain to me that today, you're talking about Brian, it was this week that he was in court. Yet we see another boy is just being killed aimlessly simply because you think you are a police officer, you can wield batons and a gun, and it's okay for you to kill a young boy. Even if atakama alifanya makosa, there's a reason why we have the court.
There's a body that's responsible for checking the police. It's IPOA.
Man, don't go there.
And I have to go there. Sorry. That this thing happened in the presence of police officers. It's believed to have happened in the presence of 5 police officers. I don't know why on Sunday morning we don't have IPOA knocking on somebody's door, picking up somebody and asking them questions about what happened.
Do they care?
Look, it doesn't matter if you care. How many times have you heard a lawyer tell you that they're defending somebody and then they will ask, do you believe that your client did it or not? What do they tell you? It's not whether I believe my client did it or not, but am I going to then be able to defend them according to the law? That's what matters. In this case, it doesn't matter whether IPOA cares or not. It doesn't matter.
Here's the thing.
The point is that you have a job to do. That it doesn't matter whether you care that people, whether 16 or 17 people have died, you have a job to do. I don't care if you show up emotionless. I don't care if you show up crying or if you show up smiling. You have a job to do. You are to oversight the police in all their actions.
Will come to tell you we are investigating, just like they're investigating every other thing. The reason why I ask whether they care is because it does not have to wait for the media to raise these things for IPOA to pick them up. They know their job. They know their responsibility to do. They are paid by the taxpayers for them to do exactly what it is you're saying. I say they do not give a damn on what happens within the police. Why? Because they will also tell you, we don't have money to conduct investigations. They know what it is they're supposed to do. They just choose not to do it. And until we start calling it as it is, until that time when we start saying, IPOA is not helping Mwananchi in any way. IPOA is a useless body because Kenyans are being killed every day and they're silent. Fine, they're investigating. Until 10 years later is when we get justice.
Oh, we don't even know if they're investigating.
All right, they're investigating.
Yeah, we don't
because so far, we've not had anything from IPOA. We're being told that the matter is under investigation. So who is investigating it? The police? Who killed this boy? Are investigating themselves and we hope that we'll get justice? If that is the case, then let us go back to what happened to Albert Ojwang. Who played their role in cleaning up the mess, in destroying the scene of crime?
Well, we saw the pictures.
In destroying even the exhibit. That it's unfortunate that we look at Albert as an exhibit that needed to give justice. We are being told that female police officer was calling for a vehicle to take this boy to hospital. That means Ndu. They knew that this boy was not okay. They knew. Even by the time the family was coming the following day to pick this boy, to take him to hospital, they already knew that this boy wasn't feeling well. Now here we are being told that it's being investigated. If IPO has not spoken, that means it's the internal unit of police officers who are investigating this matter. And we hope that the same police officers who played part in destroying evidence, in destroying the scene of crime, are the ones who will tell us that we are going to make sure that all heads are rolling. When you have a cabinet secretary who's telling police officers to shoot and you will represent them in court. When you have a president who's saying, I will shoot them in the leg, our Toto. Which country are we dealing in? Which country are we living in? How do we trust that the police officers will protect me, will protect you? Today, if anything happens to you while you're headed home, where do you go to?
God. Yes, now. To pray to God.
Where do you go to?
Look, and this is the thing, and I'm saying that it is not enough for us to just be angry, and I'm not belittling that emotion at all, but I am saying that the system is what needs to be uprooted. The system must be uprooted. You know how you plant maize and then you harvest your maize and then you scorch the earth in order for you to then plant new maize? That is what needs a new crop. That is what needs to happen. Because I hazard you this, Dennis. Those people who killed this boy right now are sitting. They know what they have done. Don't tell me that they don't.
They do.
They know exactly what they have done. People are running helter-skelter to try and now cover up, running from pillar to post to now try and cover up what it is that they have done. But let me tell you something. This blood, that's why they say the life is in the blood.
Yes.
It will cry. That is why Albert Ojwang is crying. Brian Odhiambo's blood is crying. That is why people will sit in and they will, look, it grinds slow, but it grinds.
Surely.
And this boy, what did he do?
What did he do?
What did he do? And that's why I'm going to go back to IPOA. Because you people have been telling us all this time that, yes, we're very serious in our work, one thing. Okay.
Maybe we'll bust your bubble, they are not.
At all. Why were they not out on Sunday morning? You tell me. I just thought about something. When is the last time you heard police officers are the ones calling the family members to tell them, come and get your person?
Yeah.
Because this is what we have been told. How did the family members know where he was? Police officers are the ones calling you. So what are they saying? Come and get your skunk and deal with it because he's not feeling well. What does that tell you, Dennis? They know exactly what had happened to him. When somebody when you were arrested that you're talking to us about, how did the police officers call your people to say Dennis is here with us? No. It is you to find your means to find how. In this case, why did they call him? Why did they call the family? So that they can say, here's your skunk, he's still alive, take him while he's still alive. Yeah. So that we can tell you that whatever happens, he dies with you there, and it has nothing to do with us.
Yes.
It doesn't work like that.
No.
It doesn't happen.
Imagine the most unfortunate statement that a police officer makes. After this boy threw up his insides, what does that police officer tell this lady?
Clean up that mess.
Clean your mess na mchukue mtu. In fact, they would tell you, chukue takataka yenu mpeleke huko. Then you want to tell me that I will look at a police officer and say and believe and trust that they will take care of me. The very same people who took this boy, killed him, and even when he's unwell, they don't even have the guts to take this boy to hospital.
So
you call the family so that this boy dies in the hands of the family, so that blame then moves. Tuliwapatia huyu kijana akiwa hai. Alikufa kwa mikono yenu. How do you then blame us for what happened to that boy? That's exactly, you talk about covering. That is cover up right there.
So, I believe that this is another death that will not go unanswered.
No, it shouldn't.
It will not go
can't.
unanswered. The manner in which this young man has died, and the 5 officers that are already being talked about at this moment, you'll find them. They will be found. They will answer to this. We're going to hear from you in a short while. We're going to talk to you. So I'm seeing, Eric has been saying since yesterday that, a lot of these police officers who are working in these conditions, they're not okay. That there's a psychological imbalance here. And when we say imbalance, I'm not talking about people who are off the rocker. I'm talking about people, maybe if having been forced in a situation whereby they have to work in unpalatable conditions, or that they're continuously taking orders from above, whoever this above is, and that they're forced to be the way that they are, and that they don't want to. I think that when you commit evil to someone else, that you're fully cognizant.
You're aware
of what you're doing.
You know what you do.
Whether there is an above and his brother and sister and his wife and children, the above us, you are aware of what it is that you are doing.
When you decide to take that
Can
order,
it be an excuse that we keep giving to say that police are also working in terrible conditions? They are what's the word that we like? They are captured, and so then they cannot make decisions on their own. It's a conversation that we're having with you. And yes, we are having this conversation even before the investigations begin. Yes. Because usually people will tell you, just wait, let's find out what has happened, so that you people can do your nonsense in between.
Can I blow you back?
No. We will talk about it. We will say his name, Eric Otieno. We will talk about the fact that they took him when he was walking and they released him when he was basically dead. We will talk about the fact that nobody knows what happened within that police station, but we will also talk about the fact that it's 100% necessary to find out, and that the people who took his life will answer to the very last drop of blood. That is what we are saying.
You see, that morning, when those police officers were deployed to go do their job, that police station knows exactly what officers picked up this boy.
Bana Dennis, the person who called the family members and told them to come and get their guy, knew exactly what happened. That's why they were calling.
These 5 people know exactly what they did to this boy. They know exactly what they did to Eric Otieno. Let me ask you, have you ever heard in this country that police officers called IPOA to report a matter?
No, they can't now. It's like you can't, because these are the people who police over you.
Exactly.
You can't call the principal and say today I was making noise in class.
Yet logic demands that they do.
No, it is that's what I'm telling you, Dennis. You can't report yourself. That is why you have an IPOA in place. You don't, because it has already been recognized that you will not go and report yourself and say, oh, you know what, today, guess what I did? I beat up a boy in the cell. Now, because they know that human nature dictates you won't do that, that is why a body like this is established. Because now, when something like this happens, you step in and say, okay, boys and girls, what happened here? You don't go report yourself. That's why you have the law. And people who now are agents of the law to come and instill certain things. You tell me you've done something wrong, then you go and report yourself. Where?
Let me tell you, Ndu. IPOA will appear today with IG and the DIG and give a statement that they are investigating.
By the way, Morris has made a very good point. Morris has said they should stop with this business of people in difficult conditions. Very many Kenyans are living in squalor. Very many Kenyans are living in very, very difficult conditions. Do you see people wielding machetes in the middle of the street and saying, I'm going to kill because I'm going through a hard time? Stop it, Bwana. Hey, come on. Can we be talking about something else? I'm just incensed. Let's take a break. We'll be back after this and we'll talk. Okay. Hey.
This is the Situation Room. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Kiganjo, where people were going and people were receiving money. Is it not the same one? Where people were receiving money to take their candidates to enter into the system training. So tell me if all of them who... System.
Here's what I'm talking. Okay. Here's what I'm saying. By the time one is graduating as an officer, you've gone through the training. And based off that training, it's been determined that then you can go and serve the people. We'll talk about the corruption that does exist, where we see all manner of people end up there. But by the time you're coming back and you're being given an order to kill someone, you make a conscious decision simply because you've not been given a bribe of 10,000 shillings, you decide to kill. That is a personal decision because over time it has been inculcated in the system. So then one asks the question, where we have a body called IPOA that is supposed to speak and is not speaking, where we have an internal audit mechanism within the police officers that is not working, where do we as Wananchi go? Because here's the thing. It was Albert Ojwang. It was Rex Masai. It was Brian. It is Eric today. Tomorrow it will be you and I. Until when will this continue happening? Because let's face it, I will be stupid to think that the intelligence of this country does not know what exactly happened. I would be super stupid to think that the president does not know this happened. I will be extremely stupid to think that Kipchumba Murkomen does not know that this happened. Yesterday, they were meeting with chiefs. What is the role of chiefs? What is the role of that chief in Mathare? So here we are now saying we want to work with the chiefs to provide. Which security are you talking about?
Hey. Maybe. I don't.
Which security are you talking about?
One of the books that I'm reading talks about the psychology of brutality, and I made mention of it earlier, where it talks about the difficulty that it's rather the threshold of difficulty that has to be met by one human being to take the life of another, right? Like now, if you're working around things like strangling and you work around things like knifing and things like that, the amount of force, right, that needs to be leveled against another human being in order to be injurious enough to cause harm that leads to death is not funny.
True.
That something has to be deviant and I'm not talking about a fight. I'm not talking about two boys going at it over a thing and then they finish and then they're done. I'm talking about the one that will bring harm sufficient enough to cause internal injury that leads to death. That for you to keep going. The people who are trained in torture are trained in this thing. And they've actually, in that book that I'm reading, I'll bring it for you. In that book that I'm reading, even those who are going through elements of interrogation have admitted after they have finished their service that it takes you to be off. It takes you to be off somewhat to then stick to it, whereby you're torturing this person until they tell you what it is that you want to know. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
But by the time it is okay for you to do that, you are not okay. And where am I going with this? If what is happening in Kiganjo that you're talking about is actually happening, then you know what? The system would have also told you whether these people would be able to lose it in a situation, if it was proper, in a certain situation, or if they had reached a threshold of selfishness, if they had reached a threshold of greed, or they had reached a threshold of brutality, you don't want that person. And for all of you to be able to coalesce, even if it is one person, to use a club on another human being for something which in books is regarded as petty, then we have to question the system. And I am not going to stick onto individuals. I am going to keep asking that there be a question of the system. If you do not interrogate and audit the system that then regurgitates these people who kill a young man, I'm not even talking about Eric, who kill a young man in April 2025. If you're not asking those questions, you are not serious about nationhood. You're not. And that we sit in that same sepsis and then we allow, because that's what we've done, we have not dealt with it. So if you don't deal with something, you allow the same thing to reoccur. There is a gentleman who sat in the docks and said, oh, had it been war unto me, I would not have done it. Look at it now. Less than a year later, not too far away,
Yeah.
by the way, in just another police station, something has happened to somebody else that has allowed the same thing to be repeated if we are not doing an audit and interrogation of the system. Let me not sound like a harbinger of doom, but Eric Otieno is not the last. It will happen again. And don't be deceived that the officers who did this, the ones who killed Eric, are sitting somewhere remorseful saying, oh my God, woe is me. Don't be disillusioned.
That do.
And that it will happen again. That is why we need to have the conversation. I'm telling you, whether IPOA stands up today, which they probably will give a presser some time today, whether they start to investigate, whether somebody goes to court, whether they deal with the cosmetic top layer of all of this, if you don't cut out the cancer, it will happen again. That is what should incense you. If it doesn't, we have a bigger problem than Eric's death.
One asks the question, Ndu. Over time, we've been told that individuals, including Imlu yesterday, that they've gone back and looked at the curriculum that the police officers use, that everything is up to good standard. What happens after that curriculum has been injected to individuals who then are headed by their seniors? Is the problem in the leadership of the police officers? Is it this curriculum that they are given? Or is it an individual who chooses just not to do what is right?
I will never take away the responsibility from an individual. Remember yesterday we talked with Imlu, and Imlu told us about individual responsibility and command responsibility. I believe that the two work together. But you know what? In the instance where you are taking an iron post, club, whatever the case may be, and you are inflicting injury on another human being, in that room, it is you and your head, if it is working correctly, making the decision. You can tell me that it's disciplined and that they don't do what, menene, without the head, and the head must be there, the ones who've given the order, whatever. You can say no. If we don't deal with values, if we don't deal with systems, we are courting disaster. In fact, you know what we've done? We've taken disaster out on a date. We've bought it a drink. All we're waiting to do is hit a home run. That's what we're doing. So don't be surprised at what will happen now when it's coordinated across all fronts. This may be an isolated case in a police office, in a police station, and you think, maybe they got too angry. Maybe they dealt a blow, one too many. And you think it is not a symptom of something else? Hey, Jama.
You know, you look at what that officer is called, Muhwana, the guy from Central. What he said, that we were told to discipline this boy, but the people that you gave the order went overboard.
That's my point.
You get?
You see?
You go to this story and 10,000 bob has not been paid. So you resort to beating this boy. But Ndu, remember, every other time there is a demonstration in this country, what are you treated to? Clubs and batons. Who's wielding them? The police. If that is how police officers are trained to deal with individuals, then don't get surprised that that is exactly what they met on individuals whenever they are in custody. And this nonsense of police officers live in deplorable conditions and whatever has to stop, because it is not reason enough. It is not any reason to give anyone the right to wield weapon and to kill an innocent boy simply because they did not have 10,000 bob.
Listen to this. And my friend is going to kill me. But anyway, allow me to play devil's advocate. The young chap could have been disciplined by fellow inmates. If cops had been known to lend their guns to criminals, they could have lent their batons to inmates. As just like you said, Mukwana admitted that this is what they did. What they didn't expect was that for it to go overboard.
Yes.
This is more than likely the official story that the police will use. He was beaten by fellow inmates, and we don't know how. Second theory, the young man in question could have been preparing to commit a crime, which interestingly enough, the police have already told us that they were investigating preparation to commit a felony. Okay, charge him in court then. Bring him before court, arrest him and keep him safe. Because guess what? You have a duty of care to keep your inmates safe. So this business of telling me that maybe other inmates are the ones who beat him up, whether they were under instruction or otherwise, you have a duty of care to keep the man safe in the police cell while you're waiting to charge him in a court of law on a business day, which is Monday. Yeah. It's your responsibility. So if something happened to him, guess what? Still on you, my friend. Now, he might have been involved in a crime in the past under the watchful eye or the behest of cops. Maybe he played them on one such previous blind eye incident and he didn't cut them in. Where's my money is the question that they're being asked. You still have a duty of care. If you arrested him in good health, he should be brought to court in good health. Come on.
Simple.
What do you call 1,000 board? Okay, well, I mean, it's now when you look at that, you need to ask yourself serious questions.
Yeah.
We get to the point whereby this is where the law is sacrosanct, because I don't care what you were investigating him for.
Yes.
I don't care what it is that he did. The law provides for both instances whereby you need to make sure that this guy is not a criminal. If that's what you're going to go through, that's why you then hold him safely so that you can present him before court, whereby then he can answer any charge that you bring should it hold water. But that he comes in alive and then he leaves dead, boss, because don't tell me that he was left alive and then when they went to hospital, no, I was a walking corpse.
Yeah.
Based on what you did to him. At the end of the day, whether inmates beat him or whether it was immaculate brutality, we don't know. In your police station, he should have been kept safe. Don't speak whichever language that you want to speak.
No. We're colleagues here. Enough times, you would see a different colleague doing something wrong and you would reprimand them and tell them, hey, what you're doing is wrong. Please rectify. I ask the question, police officers among your peers, do you correct each other or tell someone they're doing something wrong? Because if that as well does not exist among the police officers, then we need to ask ourselves, what kind of people do we have as police officers? Because the first person when you are beating up someone using a baton to stop you is your mate. Someone has to do the right thing in that space. What kind of people do we have in these police stations? How is it possible that 5 people, none of them would stand to just say, no, what you're doing is wrong?
Come on.
I'm just asking.
No, you're right.
Because
asking. Nobody's going to do that. In that moment, it's your skunk over there. Okay, so can you be sitting in your office and writing something and you say, oh, wanachapa mtu huko nyuma, ni sawa wacha tu waendelee ndio wamalize tuendelee na kazi ingine. That's
exactly what happened.
Then you also want to tell me, don't paint all the police with a bad brush. I am the number one advocate of saying not everyone is like that. Mimi Ndu, number one advocate. However, you know what? The KWS officers who picked up Brian Odhiambo at Lake Nakuru, those ones.
Yes.
Bad apples. The officers in Central Police Station who were there when Albert Ojwang died were in the cell, those ones. The ones in Meru, Embu.
Kenjokoma brothers.
Exactly, who were inside the police vehicle those ones. The ones who killed Brian, the mask hawker in the city, those ones. The ones who beat up this boy in Muthaiga on Saturday, those ones. I am not saying the entire thousands of police strong service. I am saying those ones. And I am saying, I am saying that if you do not deal with those ones, you see how many times I've said those ones? Yeah. If you don't deal with those ones by sorting out the system, you know what you do? You then give people the right, by the way, to tell you that all police they see are bad. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You say that, guess what? Dennis Aseto, who is walking in the city minding his own business and then gets arrested, is thinking, oh my God, I may actually not come home today. You know why? Because you didn't deal with the issue.
You're not
dealing with those ones. One bad apple spoils the bunch. Sour. So then do you leave the apple there to continue spoiling the bunch? Or do you remove it? I keep saying that surgeons don't court cancer. They don't say, hi, cancer. How are you doing? How about you don't give us a hard time today?
Cut it out.
Can you just sit in the corner over there and don't disturb the rest of these healthy cells? And let's see how we can live together and hope that you will not do anything injurious to us. Hell no, you cut it out. We're dealing with a systemic issue here. And am I mad? Yes. And if you are not, that is why we still have the problem. Because if the blood of one young man continues to flow in death and we don't see that there is a problem, that is why you have an issue with who you put into positions of leadership, who will insist that a system
Works. This is not a conversation that just has to take place in a radio station. This has to be the national conversation, because security is so integral on a nation moving forward, whichever you want to look at it. It can't be that when there is a problem, you want to go to a police officer, you can't go to a police station because you don't trust them. Yet when you leave, you find goons on the road ready to pounce on you. Yet when even you are out there trying to make things right, but you're being attacked by the very same police officers. This has to be the national conversation. This has to be the national conversation, because it's too much. It's too much. I get arrested today. Convince me, Ndu, convince me. Because this boy was given a phone call to call the parents. What did he say? I am in pain. Wamenipiga, wameniumiza. Nitafutieni 10K. It is the brother who's narrating that. By the time he is picked up, taken to hospital, is pronounced dead on arrival. It is Eric today. Mm-hmm. Could be you. Mm-hmm. Now ask yourself the question, the people in positions of authority. IPOA, what exactly are you doing to ensure that the police that we have is actually operating within the law? Because remember, for me to be able to enjoy everything, even if it's that 2060, I need to be alive to see that 2060. So then President William Ruto, when you promise to uphold the Constitution and ensure that each and every single person enjoys the rights that they gave to themselves in that Constitution, what is your responsibility? But then again, heck, I gotta ask the question, how do I trust that you as the president, as the commander-in-chief, will do the right thing when you gave an order to shoot in the leg? How do I trust that the cabinet secretary who is in charge of a police unit, who is in charge of security, will take care of me as a setter, will take care of Eric to ensure that he gets justice when you gave an order for police to shoot and you'll represent them? To members of parliament, how do we believe that you will do oversight when one of you made the call to shoot to kill and no one in that house called out that member of parliament? No one sanctioned him. IPOA has not even asked that member of parliament to explain what exactly he meant. Then here we are thinking about Kenya, great country, security, ikongangari, wapi. What do you think runs in the minds of that family whenever they see a police officer?
Thank you.
And many other people.
That is what I'm talking about, Dennis, that the danger of saying, okay, fine, we can understand the danger of having a blanket condemnation. But what do you expect to happen?
Yes.
If you don't deal with those ones, and I'm going to insist on those ones who put the two brothers in the back of a vehicle, 6 officers, and dealt with them until what we are being told about what happened to their bodies in the back of that police pickup until they died. Both of them died. You want to tell me that they were just riding along? How come the other people who were sitting behind didn't also die? Those ones, the KWS officers who picked up Brian Odhiambo, by all witness accounts, it is those ones. The ones who, whether they gave the order, whether they were there, whether they landed the blow to Albert Ojwang, those ones. The 5 police officers who are already being alleged to have done something about this, those ones. The one who shot the mask seller in the city, Brian. Those ones.
Yeah.
The one who shot Rex Masai, who aimed, fired, took the shot. That one.
That one.
Those are the ones that we're talking about. That if you don't deal with those ones, that is why we all will say that the entire police service is brutal.
Dented.
And is dented. And the reason why you take one person to court or you charge them or you insist that you make a spectacle is to set an example and to establish precedents so that tomorrow the person who wants to imagine that they can take the law into their own hands or that they can meet violence upon someone else and take life in such a despicably arrogant way, then will say, oh, wait a minute, I shouldn't actually do that. Yesterday we were told that they are subservient to the Constitution. Well, we are saying that you actually should be. And if you are not, there need to be mechanisms to deal with you. This is injury time, folks. This is not funny. At this point, it's either you win or you win.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. And it's not just about being angry. It's about opening your mouth. It's about calling their names. It's about saying those ones. And people say, why are you making noise? Yes.
We will make noise.
Because the blood of a man, blood of a man is too precious for you to gloss over as though you stamped out an ant. Because that is what we are saying. The hundreds of people who die every day, who are disappeared, who we don't even know what happened to them. They've been unalived. Things that have happened to people in the last, I don't know how many years, and we've kept quiet about it. That is why we are where we are. Don't wonder why you can't move forward. Don't wonder why. You keep seeming as if you're moving in circles. When the blood of the innocent is crying, you may think that they don't connect, but they do. If you do not deal with these systemic issues, if you do not raise your voice in dissatisfaction, if you do not talk about these things and make decisions that will ensure that a system in a democratic nation works, guess what? And it's going to hurt you. But there is no difference between you and the person who landed the blow on Eric Otieno. No difference. If you don't want to shout, you don't want to talk about it because you're going to ruffle feathers, you may as well have been in the cell when they were doing this to him and then also have been complicit. That's how serious it is. That's how serious it is.
IPOA, there is an opportunity for you guys to do right. Government of Kenya, Cabinet Secretary, you supervise, you have the authority. Do it right. Kenyans are not asking for much, Ndu. Kenyans are asking for things to be done
to just
right.
even be alive.
Just be alive.
So now, do you just like I'm saying today, anybody who gets arrested, the first
which
thing
police
is,
station are you taking?
First of all, let me know.
Alafu
tujue kama
yeah.
nitarudi kwangu.
Yes.
For God's sake, will I have to start calling my mother and father to say whether I'm going to show up alive?
Because I'll tell you one thing.
I
no longer leave my house past 8. Why? Because a precedent was set by rogue police officers. And that's the story of many other Kenyans out here. Why? Because they do not trust the police will do the right thing.
Hey, it's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. This is the Situation Room, the only way to